going on, everybody? Free Mind's Eye here with my bread and butter build. Love this build. This is my all-time favorite build now. This is my max damage per second Mechromancer build. This build synergizes extremely well between Death Trap and Gauge, and it leans a little bit more towards Gauge for her maximum damage potential, but there are a couple other max DPS builds. I'll put one in the link in the description, but overall, this build is just fucking devastating. Now, we won't be using shock because even with all the Mechromancer shock boosts, we'll only be getting, we'll always be doing less than 15 to 20% damage than if we were using the right element against the right enemy, such as fire for flesh, corrode for armor targets. But also, as well, in this video, I'm going to be including raid boss techniques that I use, basically rinse and repeat techniques until the raid bosses are dead, and then at the very end I'll include a leveling up guide because I know a bunch of you were asking about that. But just getting right into it, I'm going to be going back and forth on the skills and the weapons I use, and because there's quite a few skills that synergize well with some of these weapons. Now in Ultimate Vault Hunter mode, Slag is just an awesome necessity in my opinion. It does times 4 damage and it lasts even longer, so any kind of Slag weapon works, or a Slagger, but I prefer the Stalker since each bullet from the Stalker bounces off the wall about 5 times, and every time it bounces off it has a chance to reapply close enough, and it is just an awesome synergistic, like, just way to go about it with the Stalker. I fucking love this weapon. But maybe for open spaces I use the Slagger. Coming down, I really thought long about I wanted a shotgun that was just devastating, had a huge fire rate, nice pellet count, and the Butcher does it for me for the general gameplay. But for raid bosses, we want to go with the Interfacers. But the Interfacer, don't get me wrong, is a badass weapon, but you have to stand at a certain distance to maximize its damage potential. But overall, the Butcher, the fire rate, the chance to regenerate ammo randomly is just an awesome fucking shotgun. Like, it synergizes extremely well with close enough. And say the Butcher is halfway down and then it regenerates some ammo, we're gonna have that huge fire rate boost, and it's just an awesome skill. And it synergizes so well with the Nth Degree. We're gonna be spitting out so many fucking bullets that the enemy behind them will just drop. Now coming down, any kind of plasma caster or SMG, I just prefer the Doll since you aim down sights. It does a 3-burst volley, and in my opinion, it'll out damage the other plasma casters if you aim down the sights. The Hail is another really good substitute if you don't want to use the plasma caster. An awesome weapon. I usually have a corrosive weapon there, or if I think if the game's been out long enough to know when busters are going to be around, just use a teapot or a dominator or some sort of corrosive weapon to take care of them. But for the most part, for armored targets, I either use I slag them up, chuck a grenade, and then use with claws. I wanted my maximum damage per second Gauge build to have like no gimmicks, just utilizing all of her skills to her maximum potential, and it is just an awesome build. So since we're using with claws, we're definitely going to want to use a Roid Shield. I prefer the Height of Terramorphous and an immunity to electrocution. Because the grenade I use, the Stormfoot or the Quasar, I use this to basically either deplete my shields and the enemy shields, and then use the Roid damage to use the melee attacks only against like armored targets. But if I'm going up against robots, I'll obviously be using corrosive weapons. But for those ironclad lunatics, I'll actually just show you here. 2 hits, 25 stacks, purposely deplete our shields, and he's dead. Even with 25 stacks of Anarchy. As you saw, 2 hits onto a slagged ironclad lunatic. Now I prefer to use the Height of Terramorphous since we're going to be using with claws. I wanted my Mechromancer build to not have any gimmicks, just utilize all of her skills completely to their maximum potential, the way she was meant to be played in my opinion. And it synergizes so well with blood-soaked shields as well. Every time we get a kill, we'll have a chance to set that Nova off again. And coming over to the grenade's really up for grabs. I just prefer the Stormfront or the Quasar, and then a immunity to electrocution. This is just so the damage over time effect from shock doesn't get applied to us, although a Fire Bee or a Pandemic works extremely well against the right targets. I prefer the Bone of the Agents since it has that cooldown rate. The faster we can get Death Trap out, that's more damage potential for this build, and just the boost of fire damage. Once again, another damage potential booster. Now there's 3 class mods that I basically use for all of the general gameplay, and one of the raid bosses. I use the legendary Mechromancer class mod. Since for the raid bosses, I try to stick to 350 stacks of Anarchy, because anything higher we won't be able to control it. But once we get really high stacks of Anarchy, we're gonna switch over to a Swift Anarchist class mod, boost to gun damage, since just to help conserve ammo, and it just deals that nice boost to raw gun damage, and that's why I only have 1 point into Annoyed Android. But once we get high stacks, switch over to Swift Anarchist, and then if you want to just go insane, you could use the Slayer of Terramorphous, which I've done before, and is just awesome. But getting into the skills, 15 or 20 minutes, but it'll be kind of hard. But getting right into the skills, Anarchy is our main bread and butter because we're going to be building up stacks, and then the Nth Degree is another of our bread and butter. This will increase Gage's damage per second, basically about 20%. And then with Claws, this is probably one of my favorite skills, along with Anarchy and Blood Soaked Shields. With Claws, so we'll basically be shooting them up. We see an armor target, we slag them, chuck a any kind of grenade to lower our shields, or purposely wait for them to lower our shields. Here, this build is able to discord, but I only use this in case I accidentally reload. We got Robot Rampage to boost Death Trap up a little bit. We'll be able to gain Anarchy stacks so fast with this build. It was an actual it was a tie between the Anarchist class mod and the Legendary class mod, but overall I think the Legendary class mod is better because we get the boost of fire rate as compared to just pure gun damage. Although once we get higher stacks of Anarchy, we will switch to the Anarchist just to help conserve ammo. You only really need 150 stacks of Anarchy for the general gameplay. For raid bosses, we want to go for a little bit more, maybe around like 300, 350. Anything higher than that, it'll be really hard to control the weapon. I only have 1 point in Annoyed Android because, like I said, once I get high stacks, I'll switch over to the Anarchist class mod, and this will boost that. Free 25 stacks, just an awesome fucking skill. It's basically 50% damage right there to our weapons. Like I said, Nth Degree, this is one of the main reasons why I think this is a max damage per second build. This is a perfect synergistic build between Gage and Death Trap. It leans a little bit more towards Gage, but it's just an amazing build. Close enough with decent stacks of Anarchy, this will fucking carry us. I absolutely love this fucking skill. Cooking Up Trouble, just an awesome skill for once we have full clip and everything. Just an awesome skill to have. This is another of our bread and butter, the better half. When our magazine is half empty, we get a huge fire rate bonus, and like I said, it synergizes so well with the Butcher. Now, Fancy Mathematics, we will be using this skill for the most part with the raid bosses, but I noticed that with Fancy Mathematics or with Unstoppable Force, we won't be able to synergize the Height of Terramorphous and with Claws because our shields will regenerate way too fast for us to try to apply the Roid damage from the Height of Terramorphous or the Love Thumper. So I didn't find it really necessary. But like I said, for the raid bosses, we will be using Fancy Mathematics, but in general gameplay, we won't. Help Shot Robot, a bread and butter skill, basically rewards Death Trap for doing his fucking job, and it also gives a melee damage boost per stack. I see Explosive Clap as a shield depleter. Just an awesome skill to have. Another bread and butter, 20% cooler. This was another factor why I think the Legendary Mechromancer class mod, we can get Death Trap out a lot faster and sooner, and we could just destroy worlds as long as he's, well, not as long as he's out. Even if he's not fucking there, Gage will just fuck shit up. But this will also help just add the max damage potential of this build. And then Shang and Caring. Be warned that if you use the Love Thumper and summon Death Trap, those Novas that are caused by the Love Thumper are able to kill you. So just be warned. I'd say summon Death Trap while you have a Height of Terramorphous on, and then switch to the Love Thumper if you're going for pure melee. If you're not, I recommend just using the Height of Terramorphous, because it is just an awesome shield for this build. It just synergizes so well, the Nova, the spike damage for melee, and just the Roid damage buffs we get. And it synergizes so well because the Novas, every time we get a kill, our shields are recharged 100%. But moving on to the gameplay. Alright, I'm just showing I'm still using the same exact gear. The only thing I have different is the teapot. For an area like this, it'd probably be better to use like the hail or whatever indoors, since we're not going to be running into any buzzards. But let's get this going now. Like I said earlier, I'd only stick with in between like 150 to 200 stacks of Anarchy. That's all you're really going to need for general gameplay. The only time we would go max Anarchy is against Hyperius, which I'll get to here in a second. Oh, Ironclad Lunatic. Let's slag him up. Shields for us. Show you one with and one without. There we go. As you see, two swipes and he's gone. He dead. I love how this build utilizes look at it. Utilizes everything. That guy wasn't even slagged and we fucked him up. He's dead. He's gone. Oh, we flying. We flying death from above. Oh shit. All these other guys are dead already except for the Ironclad. Deplete our shields and he's dead. He gone. He gone. Not a problem. Check a grenade out. Slag him up. And then switch to the Butcher and just fucking go to town. As you see, he just fucking disintegrates if they're slagged. Even if they're not, they still fucking just get destroyed. But once they're slagged, it's ridiculous. Now, to help shorten the video, I'll either speed up or edit out the parts where I'm just running from area to area just to show you the good parts. Like me just taking that guy out. Oh, down. Oh, back up. That's what I love about this build. It's just so versatile and just fucking destroys. Pull the Butcher out. God, it can fucking coming up in a line. What? Ain't got nothing. Oh, another Ironclad. Took our shields down. And bam. What was that? 954, I think I saw. Oh, I love this shit. I love this build. This has to be my favorite build now. This build is just so devastating and so versatile. See, for those guys, what you want to do is you want to walk up close, wait 1 second, and then backstep, because they'll do a little shield bash or whatever, and then it's a lot easier to hit them. But if you notice, man, that midget got fucked up, man. Death Trap's a beast with this build. I love the synergistic nature with this. Slag him, shoot him, he dead, gone. Even though, I'll show you even without slagging him. Yeah, the Butcher, not even a problem. Now, like I said, the grenades, it's up to you guys what grenades you want to use. I just prefer the Stormfront and Quasar. Oh shit, he wasn't even slagged. I actually, when you get to about like 60 or 70 stacks of Anarchy, when you slag them up, it's a little bit of overkill, I know, but oh, alright, take this motherfucker out, slag him up, butcher him down. Oh, another Ironclad. God, there's a shit ton of Ironclads in this area right now. Throw a grenade, swipe, boom, dead. Next enemy. Watch out for this area. I won't even slag them up and they'll still fucking drop like flies. Oh shit, even with like close to 80 stacks, it just fucking destroys. 70 something odd Anarchy stacks, it still does work and it just destroys through shields. God, there is a shit ton of Ironclad Lunatics. But it don't matter. They did. We conquered. We came, we saw, we conquered, we sized them up, we stripped them down. We didn't like what we saw. It's fucking lame. Shit. I'll try to show some plasma caster action here in a second. Although I only really use the plasma caster if the enemy's off in the distance, or if they're one of those crushers with the shields, or if we run out of ammo. But holy shit, that guy had a fucking arm. The plasma caster still does work too. I mean, even though I said the dull plasma casters are best used if aiming down the sights, they have a decent clip size. I think it's with like 54 or 51, something like that. And with all the boosts that we get from our class mod to fire rate and to reloading in a smaller magazine size, we'll still be able to build up Anarchy fast as hell. As you saw, it's already been like a little over 2 minutes and we already have like close to 80 stacks, I believe it says. I got a tiny ass TV. And if you guys have noticed, Death Trap is now a fucking beast. He's a fucking monster. Forgot to mention that and point my old boy Death Trap out. Like, since we got a bunch of buffs to Death Trap, he just fucking destroys worlds as well. Oh, 2 Lunatics and a Crusho, and this out with some melee with the shield and without. Dead. Now, before I show Terramorphous, I just want to show the gear I'm going to be using and everything. Before I show the techniques, I made it long enough to where you guys can pause to check out the build if needed. We did pick up fancy mathematics, so we're going to have close to max Anarchy stacks. Alright, now for the raid bosses, Terramorphous will probably most definitely be the easiest. The Hyperius and Pyropete are kind of tied, but the techniques I'm going to use, I'm only going to show about 30 seconds to a minute. My Xbox has been freezing on me, and this isn't the best footage, but it's enough to show you the technique. Basically, Chuck a slag grenade. The bouncing Bonnie works wonders. You chuck a slag grenade down as we're descending, and then aim for the critical spots. Now, if you do this right, the majority of the time you'll take Terramorphous' health down to half health, and if you do it perfectly, it'll be 2/3. And then all you have to do is chuck more grenades, slag bouncing Bonnies, and then finish Terramorphous off with critical hits. But like I said, my Xbox has been freezing so much lately, and for the sake of this video, I'll just show a short clip and everything, just basically the rinse and repeat technique. Alright, so now we're going to descend, chuck a few grenades down, and you'll notice it does some decent damage. I basically missed all the critical hit spots, but as you can see right there, and even more right now, where she's at about like a quarter of the health, and, and just chuck grenades and shoot, and you're good to go. Now for Hyperius, I just wanted to show the gear, Ruby, Love Thumper, Legendary Mechromancer class mod, or the Slayer of Terramorphous, even though the Slayer of Terramorphous will be the better option since you want to go with max Anarchy stacks. Since we're going to be using pure melee against Hyperius, I like to switch it up for each raid boss, or try to at least. And in my opinion, this is one of the more fun fights with Hyperius, which I'll get into here in a second, but you can pause it at any time just to see the build for yourselves, and I'll also put a link in the description. We're going to be using the same exact build basically, but we're not going to have fancy mathematics, and we're also going to be using the Love Thumper. I highly recommend a Vitality Relic, and also having max Anarchy stacks, either 400 or 600. Obviously if you have 600, you'll be doing about 100% more melee damage, I believe it is. But this is all we basically have to do is have a Ruby. Go. I love how he just like pounds at the ground like bop, 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 bop. But I think it's kind of comical because you basically scratch at his fucking crotch and ass if you want to, because the height of gauge. But this is all you have to do. The healing from the Ruby and the damage we're doing, as you can see, my health is being depleted basically, and then right back up within seconds. And this is only a couple seconds, and he's already down. I'd say about maybe a 12th or a 13th. But obviously, if we had more stacks and my Xbox wasn't freezing, we'd be doing a little bit more damage. But I'd say if you have max stacks, either 400, it'd probably take about 7 minutes, and then if you had 600 stacks, probably like 5 or 7. It depends really, but this is probably one of the more fun ones in my opinion, because I love just doing this and going to town and fucking destroying worlds. We're moving on to the next one. Now for good old Pyro Pete, we're gonna I still stick with the Stalker. Definitely want to I like to use the TDR Plasma Caster because of the reload, along with the TDR Relic, just to help get his shield down. Unfortunately, my Xbox has been freezing constantly, so I'll just show a little bit of that footage, along with what I use once I get his shield down is the interfacer to get his health down and keep slagging him up. And basically that's the same routine. Try to have in between 3 to 350 stacks of Anarchy, because anything higher I feel it's just too uncontrollable. And then just to show the damage potential with the stacks of Anarchy that I have with the interfacer and the Shock Relic on. Alright, now for the leveling up guide. This isn't like set in stone, but level 5 Death Trap, the game changer Anarchy right off the bat. Fill up the rest, smaller, lighter, faster. I go with Blood Soaked Shields and try to find a Nova Shield. Then I come over to Cooking Up Trouble, just so we don't kill ourselves with our Blood Soaked Shields. And then pick up Discord. Try to get more Anarchy stacks with Typecast, Iconolist. And then coming down, Rational Anarchist, that's free damage. I focus on boosting up Gauge and then Death Trap, so it's really up to you if you want more Anarchy or Death Trap to do some more damage. But I usually try to mix it up with both, and then I'll finish up with Typecast. And then just to get even more Anarchy stacks, just because it's the story mode and I like to mess around, just to get down into the nth degree. Now depending on what kind of shield you have and what gear you have, you can get with claws or not. It all depends on what you have. I usually go for close enough next. I sometimes get the Law and Order, and then I'll rock with claws early on. And also depending on what kind of shield you're using, you can either get Fancy Mathematics or the Better Half. But I usually go with the Better Half. If you find yourself dying too much, get Fancy Mathematics, and then after Upshot Robot. And like I said, it's another tough decision. But it all depends on what kind of gear you have. I usually finish off with close enough and cooking up trouble just to get down to explosive clap. And then once again, it's another fair game, and it all depends on what kind of gear you have. But I'll pick up native sterner stuff just to get down to 20% cooler, and then sharing is caring. And then the last 5 to 4 points are really up to you. I obviously pick up with claws, and then the rest is up to you guys. But yeah, I know a bunch of you were asking about a leveling up guide for my characters and everything, and I hope this helped. Like I said, it's not set in stone, but this is the kind of pattern I follow: boosting up gauge first and then death trap. But I hope this helped. Well, alright, that's it for the max damage per second Mechromancer build that I personally absolutely fucking love. But you guys gotta remember, what works for me may not work for you, and I'd love to hear your comments and feedback about how you guys go about your Mechromancer build. And let me know if in the future you'd rather have my videos showing the raid boss guides along with the leveling up guide included in my build videos. I know this is kind of dragging on now, but just let me know. Peace!